The importance of speed. Speed is another skill you should master in Photoshop. I'll say this right from the beginning, nobody likes sloppy work, but that's not what I'm advocating here. You shouldn't sacrifice quality for speed. Let me tell you a quick story to illustrate my point. When I got started using Photoshop for web design, I didn't have a clue about it. I had no formal training whatsoever. What I did have were lots of projects courtesy of 99 Designs, CrowdSpring, Hatchwise and other platforms, and a few training materials from YouTube and lynda.com. No shame to admit it, I used torrents to get Photoshop and whatever else I needed because I didn't have a dime to my name, literally. So when I started learning and working, I quickly found out how little I knew. I realised there were so many great designers out there that were miles away from my skill level. How could I compete? It would take months, maybe years, until I could reach a decent skill level, let alone catch up. And then I started thinking, how can I get an upper hand? How could I get ahead of the pack? I tried being very creative, very out there with my ideas, but of course that failed. I tried putting lots of mental energy into each project, trying to think and overthink each element, but of course that failed too. I lacked knowledge and I lacked the time to obtain it. And there was my answer. Time. If I could manage to get more time, I'd be golden. Since I couldn't sleep less, and believe me, I tried, or increase the number of hours in a day, I did what you already know. I increased my speed, thus getting more done in less time. This to me was the best way I could pull ahead of everybody else. By working hard on a tight schedule and being very disciplined, I could quickly close the gap between me and all the other designers out there. I'd basically give myself a boost. And indeed it worked for me. First I started off by learning how to read faster. I used different techniques and programs and I eventually got significantly faster. But the key here was the video content. I then found out I could use BS Player to increase the video speed with Shift F5. I started with 120%, then 150%, and I kid you not, I started watching tutorials at 180% speed. I tried 200%, but then I couldn't follow the commentary anymore. At 180%, the voice was very high-pitched, but it didn't bother me. I adjusted myself to the speed and I began understanding everything. Moreover, these tutorials showed me very basic things, so I got bored listening at anything below 150%. There weren't any great techniques or design principles, even if the course was labelled as advanced or mastery. I was really disappointed that there wasn't anything better available on the market. That's what actually drove me to create my first course, Learn Photoshop, Web Design and Profitable Freelancing. Now things have changed a bit and I do recognise those basic tutorials did play a role in my development. Yet I still see very little great material out there that really aims to teach you the real stuff. So to sum this part up, I began learning at a very rapid pace in order to get more time. It was difficult at first, but I quickly got used to it and I could focus on the 5 to 10 minutes that actually mattered out of a 60-minute course. So I got that handled, I slurped up as much information as I could. In the meantime, I was still designing, but the goal here was to be as fast as possible. I really aimed to do everything in less steps. Hotkeys were a major part in this. I learned them all and I quickly began using my mouse and my keyboard like I was an experienced piano player doing his thing at full blast. I cut out every little intermediate step I could think of. Just as an example, I bought the fastest, cheapest gaming mouse out there, the A4 Tech X7. I set it at 3200 DPI and if you don't know what that is, well it's crazy fast, you just touch it a bit and it flies. When I had several windows open and mind you I had only one very tired monitor, I hated wasting time getting to my desktop. So I programmed one of the mouse buttons to minimize all windows. This made a big difference in my workflow. I'm not sure if this seems like sound advice or you think it's a bit of an obsession, but I have to say that these things shaped me to be the designer I am today. I basically shortened the learning curve. Everybody knows that when you first start a new activity, it's going to seem very difficult, no matter what it is. As time goes by, it becomes easier and easier. Picture driving a car, swimming, or riding a bike. So if you could shorten that awful period where you're frustrated because you don't know what to do, then you'll get to the good stuff faster. First, learn the basic tools, hotkeys and what they do. Then practice by doing lots of projects and cutting out any inefficient steps. This is why I tell people to organise their layers panel. That's one of the aspects that determines your speed. So that's how I got ahead, by working harder and faster in order to shorten the learning curve. You're bound to fail no matter what. The idea is to learn from your mistakes, implement the new knowledge into your workflow, and repeat. So what are some tips you could use to speed things up? Learn all the major hotkeys. You have a cheat sheet in this course. Get a fast mouse with programmable buttons. Set them for things like minimize all windows or go back. Set your browser to download everything on your desktop, then keep it impeccable. Everything organized properly, and when the project is over, delete what's not needed. Things like icons, vectors, images, you name it. Name and group at least 80% of all your layers. Use the search feature built into the Layers panel. When you have an idea, go do it, don't second think it. Then group it, and if you have another idea for that region, do that one as well. Compare, then decide which is better. The number one tip that I'd like to leave you with is this. Set a goal in your mind to become faster. If you do this, everything will fall into place. If you have the will to be faster, no matter what, you will find shortcuts in your workflow that will help you achieve your goal. Everybody is different, so not all these tips will apply to you, but if you think of something for yourself, it's sure to work.